All right, so we're going to be talking about the lunar cycle. Our goal is to be able to identify the phases of the moons, and we'll briefly talk about eclipses. Half of the moon is always going to be lit up, like I was sharing with our warm-up. As the moon orbits the Earth, we see different parts of the lighted area. So the phases that we see are because of where we are on Earth. So different places on the planet might see the shape of the phase a little differently, but it'll still be the same phase. It's always getting light from the sun. So we talk about revolution and rotation with this unit, and the revolution of the moon around the Earth makes the moon look like it's changing shape. And really, it's just the amount of light that we're seeing reflected on the moon. The moon doesn't actually change shape, just the light that is being shown. So if you take a flashlight and you shine it on different objects, the shape of the light looks a little different. Like if you shine it on the edge of the couch, you'll see the light be more rounded. If you shine it on a flat wall, you'll see more of the light and it'll be flattened. So if you have a flashlight, take that and play with it so that you can see how light reflects, how it bends on different surfaces. And it's no different on the moon. The sunlight makes the moon look like it's changing shape. This is because of the different angles in which we see the lighted part, and that's why we call them phases. Okay, so this next slide, I want you to look at these two moons and tell me what the difference is. So we see that we have the same shape with each moon. Kind of looks like a fingernail. That's what we call a crescent. It's less than half and it's small. So they're both crescent moons. But what you guys were telling me is that the lit part of the moon is on different sides. And that's right. So over here, we have the light on the right. So this would be a waxing moon. And on this side, the sun it only looks like it's reflecting a little bit on the left side of the moon. So it is a waning moon. Okay? We talked about the shape being similar. So the light is on different sides, but the shape is the same. So they're both crescent moons, but the placement of the light determines whether it is waxing, growing, or waning, getting smaller. For this one, I want you guys, again, to look at these and talk about what the difference between these two moons is. What is the difference? They have light on different sides. So this moon is showing light on the right, and this moon is showing light on the left. Very good. When we look at the picture again, what are some similarities that you guys see between these two moons? So we noticed that the line between the shade and the light is in the same location. So there's a line on the right and there's a line on the right. But this part is shaded and this part is light. So if you just looked at a blank circle with a line drawn, they would be the same moon. What makes them different is where the light is and how much of the light there is. So this is a crescent moon, this is a waxing crescent, and this is a waning gibbous, okay? But if you cover up half of it, they have similar shapes, just different shading. This is a really important slide because you guys are going to be expected to predict moon phases. And so what you need to know to be able to do that effectively is how long each phase lasts, how long the whole cycle lasts. Okay, so the moon passes through eight major shapes in a cycle, and it repeats itself every 28 to 29 and a half days. And the phases are always in the same order. And in all models, it's counterclockwise. So when we look at this model, we have our sun in our new moon. Okay, so new moon is on day 0, and it's going to last 3 to 4 days. You're going to see pretty much no moon, very, very, very little light for about 4 days, 3 to 4 days. And then you'll start to see a lot more light, and it'll have a crescent shape, and you'll see that waxing crescent for 3 to 4 days. And then you'll have your first quarter where half the moon is being lit up. Now, what you need to understand is over those 3 to 4 days, this waxing crescent is growing and it's getting bigger, but it's not a first quarter until it reaches half. It's got to be looking like half of a moon for it to be considered first quarter. And that also lasts 3 to 4 days. And then that first quarter is going to continue to grow until it's significantly past that halfway, and it's now a gibbous. And that waxing gibbous lasts 3 to 4 days. And then you have a full moon. So what's really awesome about this table is you can see from day 0 to first quarter, it takes 1 week. And from a new moon to a full moon takes 2 weeks or 14 days. So knowing that is really important, okay? From a full moon to third quarter is 7 days. And from third quarter to another new moon is 7 days. So from new moon to full moon is 2 weeks. And from full moon to new moon is 2 weeks. So you have this time up here for you guys to reference and practice and use, because you're going to see a lot of questions that are asking you, if we're currently experiencing a new moon, what moon should we experience in 21 days? You'll have a question like that. If we're having a new moon right now, in 21 days, what's the next moon phase? So 21 days is 3 weeks. From new moon to first quarter, that's 1 week. First quarter to full moon, 2 weeks. Full moon to third quarter, 3 weeks. Okay? So you got new moon is 1, first quarter is 1, full moon is 2, third quarter is 3, new moon is 4. Okay? So first quarter, you start at first, right? First week, second week, third week, fourth week. Does that make sense? So from a new moon to a waxing crescent is 3 to 4 days. Waxing crescent to first quarter, 3 to 4 days. You have these timelines here. So your total time, 28 to 29.5 days. New moon to full moon is 2 weeks. New moon to first quarter, 1 week. Each phase lasts 3 to 4 days. Okay? So now we're going to talk about some memory devices to help you guys draw them, or to identify them if you're not drawing them. So we like to say white on the right, growing bright. White on the right, growing bright. So when the white is on the right, we're growing, which is a waxing phase. We're going toward a full moon. We also say black on the right, losing light. So when black is on the right, we're losing our light. We're getting smaller toward a new moon, which is our waning cycle. Some other devices that we use, wax on, is increasing light. When you take a candle wick, which is like a flammable little rope, and you dip it in wax, the wax causes the candle to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so waxing is growing. It's increasing in light. You can even YouTube people making candles, and all they do is they take this string and they dip it in melted wax over and over and over until they get the size of a candle. Wane off, it also kind of sounds like weaning, like puppies wean off their moms, which means they stop eating from their mom and they start eating regular food. So wane off, decreasing or dying off light. If you wane off of something, you slowly stop taking it, doing it, whatever you're weaning yourself off of. Like I wean myself off of coffee. I gradually drink less and less every day. And then we have gibbous, which is big boy. Gibbous has 2 B's. Big boy has 2 B's. Gibbous, big boy. Crescent, like a crescent roll. It's little and skinny. Crescents are usually smaller than biscuits or bread. It's harder to make a sandwich with those little crescent rolls that you pop out of the can. And then lastly, we have new moon is near the sun. Okay, so when you look at an image of our hashtag, you see sun, and then the very next moon phase is a new moon in our diagrams, in our models. Full moon is far from the sun. Okay, remember, you are on Earth looking at the moon. So I know that this is a lot to remember, but you have to practice using these to get better at it. We're going to quickly go through each phase. So new moon is near the sun. Okay? The new moon phase occurs when the moon is between Earth and the sun. There is a possibility of having a solar eclipse, but they do not have to happen often because the orbit of the moon is about 10 degrees off from the orbit of Earth. So new moon is near the sun. The moon revolves around Earth, and as it does that, the amount of light that is reflected on the moon from the sun that we see from Earth, the amount of light that we can see from Earth is increasing. So waxing means to increase, and it refers to the amount of light that we see from Earth on the moon. Crescent refers to the shape. So we can see a little bit of light reflected from the sun on the moon. And that light is going to grow into a first quarter where to us it appears half of the moon is lit. But if we're only, what's half of a half? We only really see one half of the moon, and when that one half is lit up, we see, that's why it's called first quarter. We see a quarter of it, but it looks like a half moon to us. And that's when the moon has gone 1/4 through its cycle. That's another reason why we call it a quarter moon. Okay? Then it continues to increase. The light continues to increase, and we got our big boy, right? Our gibbous moon, and it kind of looks like a fat football. The word gibbous actually means bulging, and during the waxing gibbous phase, the lit side of the moon is continuing to grow in size because we're going toward a full moon. And here we are at our full moon. During a full moon, we can see the light reflecting from the entire surface of the moon that's facing Earth. So again, we only see one side of the moon. During this phase, it is possible to have a lunar eclipse. So when we see a full moon, we can see the entire side of the moon lit up by the sun. But now our moon is going to start to get smaller. As we start to lose light, we're decreasing in size. The moon appears to be getting smaller. Okay, so we have our waning gibbous. We still have a lot of light, but we've lost some. Okay, and then we get to third quarter, where the moon is now 3/4 the way through its cycle. Okay, and the light is lit up on the left side. Okay, because we're losing light. Then finally, we're at our waning crescent. We've almost lost all the light. And what that really means is that the position of the moon and Earth, we can only see a little bit of light reflected onto this, reflected from the sun. The sun's still reflecting a bunch of light on the moon, but from our position on Earth, we cannot see it. Okay? And then as it continues to revolve around Earth and it comes between the sun and the Earth again, we will see our new moon. So before we go, I'm going to organize these. Remember, our first step is SNEF. Sun, new moon, because we don't see any light, Earth, full moon. One of your strategies is new moon near the sun, full moon far away from the sun. Okay? And now we know we're going from a new moon to a full moon counterclockwise. Okay? So we go backwards on a clock. And we're growing. So new moon, we need a small moon with light on the right growing bright. Small moon, light on the right, growing bright. Light on the right, growing bright. Now you just order them from size. This small, medium, large, light on the right, growing bright. Now we have our extra large. Okay, so now we're going to start losing light. Okay, and we still need a large moon because we don't just lose all the light, we lose a little bit gradually. So large moon, light, I'm black on the right, losing light. Black on the right, losing light. Medium moon, black on the right, losing light. Small moon, black on the right, losing light. And then we're back to our new